times people come up to educational services and they ask us, well, what do you guys do here? Right? And my sarcastic side will say, well, if you want to know a list, here's a class, and we do this, and we start off the week with Monday morning meditation, and we have all these different classes throughout the week, and we end up the week with Baby and Me in the morning on Friday, and then we end the week with Dancing Heels, right? And we go on. But I realized by doing that, I'm not really saying what we really do here, right? I realized that I have to do more than that. Like, I can't just say that, because that's not what we do. We do a lot more than that. Those are just little things that we do, little bits and pieces that happen here. And some people say it's the magic. We hear the word kinship all the time, right? And I think about G when people ask me this question. I say, kinship. What does G say? G says, kinship is not serving the other, but being one with the other, right? So I'm like, okay. So before I even answer, I'm already thinking that. I think Martin Luther King says, he says men, but I'll say people often hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they don't communicate. And they don't communicate because they're separated. Right? I think, okay, so that's my foundation. So how am I going to say what we do here at home? And then I go to, a lot of times we want to tell a story to say what we do at Homeboy, and the story just captures one little piece of what we do here at Homeboy as well. So I said, well, how do I explain it then? All this is happening while the person is standing right in front of me waiting for an answer. So what does that look like? Right? And I'm like, okay, well, I said, I'll give you some examples of what I think it looks like, but it's only going to capture a little piece. Right? So here's some examples. So the other day in class, Project Fatherhood, one of the men is talking about how his pain started even when he was in his mother's womb. He started talking about how they were fleeing the war in El Salvador, and they were trying to make it to the U.S. while his mom was pregnant, while he was in the womb. And he says, we were in the middle of nowhere in these villages. He has our attention, and we're all listening, and he says, and my mom went into labor, and we were in this little grass hut, and one of the homies says, oh shit, homie, like Jesus. And we're all like, oh shit. And then he says, apostle, homie. Right? To me, at that moment, right, we all stood together, right? We all understood that what was happening, right? That he had taken us on this journey. And it was like we were all witnessing his birth. Right? We're at Homeboy, and we were in that hut that time at that moment. Right? That was an example. Right? There's many. I'm going to share a few. Another one was this morning. I'm thinking about the thought of the day, and I'm driving to work, and I see Yolanda with another homegirl. They're walking, and they're in the rain. And I pull over real quick, and I said, "Hey, let's go. Are you guys going to Homeboy?" Yeah. Let's go. I get in the car, and I made them 2 minutes late. Right? You would have made it here faster if you would have come on the train. We hit all this traffic, right? And so we're laughing about it, talking about it, right? And sorry, case manager, for making me late, but the truth is that moment was it was like the moment where I pulled over. At first, it was like some fear, like who the hell's that guy, right? But then I pulled down the window and I'm like, hey, are you guys going to Homeboy? And they jumped in that moment where their face lit up, right? Like, oh shit, yeah. They weren't that happy when they were 2 minutes late, but they got on they got in there. And another moment, right? I was at a while back. We went to Beverly Hills to some when they were doing the premiere of G's film. G's the film of Homeboy, right? And G said, I'm not that special healer, and that homeboy over there is in need of my special healing. We all need healing. We are all a cry for help, right? And I remember Steve Avalos that day. He spoke prior to G saying that, and I remember that moment, and I remember having a conversation with Steve about how G says that we talk talk God or we see God. I saw that day, right? I saw that in Steve Avalos and I saw that in G, right? Another example, I'm just gonna, a couple more and then I'll close it. Another example was, me and Victor co-facilitating class, right? What happens in those classroom spaces is amazing. We talk about things that like show what we really do in this place, right? So me and Victor facilitating, we're laughing, we're going into serious moments and serious parts of conversation. And then one of the homies that did a lot of time, it really hit me when he said this. He said, I focus on all the little things in my life, and those are the things that matter, right? He gave some examples. He said, I go out and listen to I go out early in the morning and I go to the beach and I listen to the waves crashing. And I pay attention to the birds that fly by and the trees, and I can feel the breeze and I take it in. He said he did a long stretch in prison, and to him that was what mattered. And I think of that example as how we explain what happens here at Homeboy, right? Because truth of it is that there's not one thing that defines it, right? There's so much that's happening here, from gingerbread houses to lime on the chicken pozole, to the tours that are coming here, to the classroom spaces, to the conversations that happen one-on-one on a daily basis, to the people who come here with hope, to the people who are out there that come back in a suit or with a tie saying, hey, I'm going to an interview today, to the moment where we say, I'm not going to get in that car, to standing with a brother who is going through one of the hardest things that anyone can go through, is losing your loved one, losing a child, and not having the words to say anything, but saying more because we stand with one another, and in a way held him up while he suffered that loss and continues to feel that. We just kind of held him up. And there's a picture of the homies behind this man looking into to what he was dealing with and is dealing with in his life, and us not saying anything, but just kind of leaning up and holding him up, and that's what we do here at Homeboy. And how do you explain that in a curriculum or in a theoretical framework? Or how do you explain that in outcomes? How do you talk about that? So if I try to, I rant on and I say all these things, and the person says to me, oh wow, you do all that? And I'm like, and that's only my version, right? Because if you ask the people here, you will see, right? And so I encourage you to take the time to ask and pay attention to everybody, because it's not about what I say or this story says. It's not about that, because you're missing it. There's a lot more. It's full, right? And so I just wanted to say that, and I hope I make sense, but I just want to thank everybody for being part of that wholeness, right? And I love this place. Thank you very much.